Hi, I'm Robert Wright. I run Meaning of Life TV, and the purpose of this little monologue is twofold. First, I want to announce a feature we're launching called 60-second sermons. And second, I'm going to deliver such a sermon myself. Now, a 60-second sermon is something that anyone, including you, can record and upload to our site for playing on our site. The term 60-second sermon is kind of a misnomer in a couple of senses. First, they can be slightly longer than 60 seconds. The strict limit is 89 seconds. In other words, they have to be closer to 1 minute than to 2. And second, they don't have to be literally religious. They can be. If you have a faith tradition and you want to speak from within that tradition, that's great. I imagine most of the sermons will not be literally religious, but we do ask that they all have some of the elements, at least, of a traditional sermon. So, for example, they can be uplifting and inspiring. They can involve moral exhortation. They can be lamentations. They can be dire warnings about moral decline or about our descent into the apocalypse. So they can be Jeremiads, if you want to get biblical about it. They can be just poetic reflections on something wondrous, or on something poignant, or they can be non-poetic reflections. They can be just, a little story about something that happened to you along with your takeaway from it. So, in other words, they can be closer to homilies than to sermons. But, 60-second homily just isn't very alliterative. So we went with sermon, which is also the reason we went with 60-second, even though the strict limit is 89 seconds. Now, if you want more guidance in this, there is guidance including how to record and upload a sermon, and that guidance can be found on a page with the apt URL meaningoflife.tv/sermon-upload. A link to that will appear at the end of this first sermon of mine. Now, this sermon is going to be about the recent presidential election, which is okay because, as we explain on the upload page, sermons can have political content so long as they have a dimension of, something spiritual, something moral, something that distinguishes them from just a video version of an op-ed piece. Now, the last thing I want to say before my sermon starts is that this is not meant as a template or as an example to be followed. As I've said, there's all kinds of things that qualify as sermons, and they can be delivered by all kinds of people, from all kinds of perspectives, with all kinds of styles. This is just one example of a sermon from one person, and here it is. Okay, I want to warn about Donald Trump and the dangers of tribalism. Now, I'm not warning about Trumpian tribalism. I do think that's a dangerous thing because Trump seems willing to appeal to the worst parts of human nature as he mobilizes his tribe. But I'm not part of that tribe, so there isn't much I can do directly about Trumpian tribalism. I'm in the anti-Trump tribe, and what I want to say is that I think this kind of tribalism also carries its dangers. Okay, so the psychology of tribalism involves cognitive biases that distort our view of reality. For example, we look for bad things and only bad things in our ideological opponents so that we can denigrate them and demonize them. Now, sometimes demonization isn't far from the truth. Like, I really believe that Donald Trump is a very bad man. But even if I'm right about how bad he is, that doesn't say anything about his supporters. I actually think his supporters are a diverse group and that very few of them approve of everything about him. And yet my natural tribal inclination is to paint them with a broad brush and see all of them as stupid or as bigots or whatever. And this gets in the way of accurately sizing them up and figuring out why so many Americans voted for Trump. And I personally think that figuring that out is job one if we're going to kick him out of the White House in 4 years. So this is one reason, not the only reason, but one reason that I'm going to try to transcend my tribal psychology as I fight against Trumpian tribalism. Thanks.